Hey folks, welcome. Here we discuss real stories by real people. Today we have the story of a man who finds out his girlfriend has been cheating on him with her cousin's husband. Let's see how it goes. Story 1. So, I busted my girlfriend, we'll call her Kaylee, cheating with the husband, Joey, of her best friend, cousin, Melinda. Over the past few months, Kaylee and Joey have been sending mass amounts of texts every day. Just about anything random you can think of, probably hundreds per day. I told her I didn't like it, but she insisted it was harmless. I spoke to Melinda about it and she concurred. She said it was harmless and she was glad Joey was getting along so well with her family. So I kind of brushed it off, but still, I had a bad feeling about it. Well, she falls asleep with her phone on and at first glance, I saw her tell Joey she loved him. So I scroll through and find some very incriminating text that he's effing her. Okay, she and I are done. But she begs me not to tell her cousin Melinda. She says she'll be basically exiled from the whole family tree and her life would be effed. Part of me wants to see the bish burn. But the stupid nice guy part still cares about what happens to her and wants to just let it go and let it work itself out. Joey and Melinda are married but recently separated or broke up. Pretty much the same time the mass texting started. Funny coincidence, right? Joey and Melinda also have 2 kids together. So I'm torn between telling or not. I'm still very badly hurt and want to try and wait a few days so I'm not acting out of straight vengeance. It would make things rough for Kaylee, but I feel like Melinda deserves to know. Help. I told her I'll give her 2 weeks to tell her cousin. I don't think she will, though. I'm not gonna lie, I really hope I don't have to. I would feel like I'm destroying lives. It's tougher than I thought it would be. I'm sorry this happened to you, OP. You owe Kaylee nothing. You don't need to keep her secret. She cheated. She put her relationship with you and her entire family on the line when she decided to F her cousin's husband. She's not a good friend or girlfriend, so quit feeling bad and tell her cousin already. Tell her right now. She really deserves to know, especially since she really believed that there was nothing between them when you mentioned your suspicions to her. It'll be heartbreaking for her, but at least she'll know so she can decide whether to leave her relationship or not. Now for some comments. You need to tell her because her husband may someday unwittingly bring home an STD and put her health at risk. She also deserves to know if her husband, separated or not, is cheating on her. Sorry this is happening, but you need to do the right thing now and bring it out in the open. So, OP, have you told yet? I know this is super late, but this sort of situation needs to be told. Health reasons have already been brought up. But the truth is, what if her cousin gets back with her husband and he does this again? You can prevent this from happening again. Think of what you're doing to Melinda by not telling her. You're putting her at risk. She sounds like any other person that doesn't take responsibility for their actions. You owe her nothing. Now, you have to follow your morals. You're glad that you found out that she was cheating. Pass that honesty on to the wife. I'm sure she would want to know. The old saying, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If you would want someone to tell you, then tell them. Story 2. My girlfriend, 30, and I, 29, just celebrated our 5-year anniversary a month ago. We've never had the best communication, and we both grew up in households that did not exhibit or foster healthy communication. At this point, I think we both just don't want to see each other hurt, and definitely don't want to be the source of that pain. So we have a habit of keeping silent about any negative thoughts or feelings about one another. A little over a year ago, she was very clearly holding back something from me and I was afraid she had reverted to doing something she had for a long time. Taking her negative feelings about me and our relationship, no matter how minor, and venting them to her friends. But not discussing them with me simply for not wanting to hurt me for any reason. I had been having this feeling for months, and finally my curiosity and paranoia got the best of me and I looked at her phone. A crappy thing to do, I know, but the result, I feel, justified the means. I discovered that not only was she venting her frustrations about every facet of our relationship you could possibly imagine to a friend of hers, but she and this guy were exchanging sexual fantasies with one another, role-playing and sharing nude photos with one another. As over the line as that is in and of itself, the extra slap in the face is that she's always told me how reserved and how shy about sexual things she is, and has never done any of these things with me in 5 years. I read all of her texts and emails with this guy that date back to a year earlier, and the evidence that I have is that while they've known each other for over 10 years, met online through a video game, this level of the affair took place between March and September of last year. Though there were also references made to them doing this sort of thing before and how shy she was back in college. Then the fog happened immediately. I was furious and we broke up. I screamed, I yelled, I swore, and we fought hardcore. About a day later, I was obviously still upset, but had calmed down to the extent that I felt if this relationship was going to end, I didn't want to go out that way, and wanted to at least discuss this like a civilized adult. Long story short, I decided to stay. The feeling I identified to it was that I love her more than hate what she did. We immediately went to counseling, and that was productive and nice, and opened up lines of communication that were previously not there to an extent. However, I've been incredibly frustrated with her over the last year, and it's because I can now identify that she's in such denial, it's almost not fathomable. In discussing the infidelity and trying to understand the feelings and emotions that went along with her making that choice, here are some explanations she offered up to me. She had no physical sexual attraction to him. He had no physical sexual attraction to her. She's never been comfortable being open about anything in a sexual manner, and he was coaching her and letting her practice it with him so she could get comfortable enough to do it with me. She was never comfortable with any of it and didn't like the way any of it made her feel. She only continued it because she thought even though she didn't initially like it, that it might get better. She didn't get anything out of it, sexual gratification or otherwise. She only did it with him because she saw him as an expert and was easy to distance herself from since he lives far away. I believe these are all rationalizations and delusions she's told herself over a long period of time, to the point where she actually believes they're 100% true. I've been opening up about all my feelings and everything, but when I and our counselor tried to get the same out of her, she shuts down, keeps repeating the explanations listed above, and insists, "There's nothing deeper, I've honestly told you all of my feelings." Due to scheduling complications, we stopped seeing our counselor this last May, after about 7 months of weekly or bi-weekly sessions. At that point, I more or less dismissed the topic. There was no good being done by continually bringing it up when it all led back to the same conversation of me not believing, not being able to make sense of her explanations, and her insisting that there's nothing more. I figured if I gave it time, she would come to some sort of epiphany on her own. If we took a step back from the situation, the stress wouldn't trigger her to lock down, and maybe if she eased up, she'd be more open or discover something she'd been blocking out. Instead, I learned truly how evasive she is. I like to take tough experiences, process them, analyze them, and find opportunities for growth. She, on the other hand, seems to just want to chalk this all up as a mistake she made, apologize for it, move on, and forget it ever happened, because it's so very unpleasant to think about. She's literally like an ostrich burying her head in the sand while a hurricane swirls around her. Well, it's been months, and due to some other small to moderate issues that have arisen lately, it made me realize that while I've been silent about the infidelity for a few months, and I haven't thought about it daily like I used to, it still affects me, and I'm definitely not okay. This caught me off guard because in the last few months, things have been very harmonious in our relationship. And like I said, the infidelity has not been at the forefront of my mind for a very long time. But it feels like I've taken a step back from in recovery to in the fog, because ever since we discussed it yesterday for the first time in months, it all still feels fresh again. I feel like it just happened all over again because nothing has changed emotionally. And the conversation went the exact same way as it always has, with me insisting there have to be underlying desires and motivations that led to this, and her repeating those explanations I stated above. In fact, what I realized, and what I told her yesterday, is that it almost feels worse now that a year later she's still not opening up herself to any sort of healing process or any sort of honesty that will elicit any real emotions around the infidelity. What's more, she's doing what she used to do and probably has never stopped doing, in venting her frustrations about her relationship to a friend of hers and not being honest with me about them. I brought up a specific situation that triggered that feeling and honestly told her that the series of behaviors that she exhibited after this new situation came up, it made me want to look at her phone again, but that I wasn't going to. She swore, "No, I didn't tell her anything. I'm not feeling anything negative. She and I just talked about her trip to Portland, etc." I then asked her, "Well, if that's the case, then what would you say if I asked you to show me that conversation?" She said she wouldn't. It's horrible for me to put her in that catch-22 position, and that it shows I don't really trust her. Since then, she's made painstaking efforts to keep her phone on her at all times. And I even saw that she changed her lock screen password to her phone and her password to her Facebook. So where I was suspicious before, those actions have only further validated that she's venting our relationship issues to her friend and lying to my face about it. I could just be freshly emotional, but I'm starting to feel like this all was just a big show. That even though it was her idea to go to counseling, it was just to appease me, and she was never really committed to the healing process. And I know we can't really make it through this if I'm the only person wanting to actually process what happened and deal with it, no matter how uncomfortable it may be to talk about. I don't know, I could go on, but this is already long enough. My thoughts and emotions are just in a stir. And I really don't know what else to think or where to go at this point. And now I'm probably worse off because I've reached a point that, even if she does communicate any thoughts or feelings to me, I'm wondering if she's even telling the truth. What I do know is that she's in the fog hardcore. I was in the fog, got myself out, and now I feel like I'm back in it again. Her denial is just so persistent and so deep that I don't know how to reach her anymore or help pull her out of the fog. Any advice or even just observations? OP, it's been a year and you still feel this way. I don't think that's going to change, especially since your girlfriend hasn't changed or taken accountability for what she did. You still haven't heard her admit to cheating, hear her honest apology, etc. I'm sorry this is happening to you. You seem very invested in the relationship, but unfortunately, your girlfriend isn't. All you ask is for her to be truthful and admit that yes, she did cheat and it was wrong. But she won't even do that after a year. I don't think she's ever going to. My advice would be to leave the relationship. It's going to be hard, obviously, but you have to. Your girlfriend doesn't respect or value you anymore. Someone who's afraid of losing you won't act the way she does. They would do everything in their power to make you stay. You deserve someone who's afraid of losing you, OP. Now for some comments. As much as you have tried and are trying to improve the relationship, it's obvious that she isn't interested in making any real concentrated effort. Honesty and trust are crucial for any relationship to work. She's refusing to accept responsibility for her actions and is refusing to make better choices. You deserve far better and will have a more enjoyable life if you choose to walk away now. Being with someone that lied to your face multiple times on a daily basis is not worth your well-being. My advice is to stop now. Of course she won't make an effort. Why would she? There were no consequences. No consequences, no efforts. Did you expose her? The fact is, she's not fully transparent to you. She shows she has no remorse, empathy, or wish to make you feel better. She will do it again. After all, why won't she? The first time she got away with it. I advise you to apply the 180 list. It's a list of behaviors to move on emotionally and find out you can be happy by yourself. It'll help you find out what you really want. Wow, I'm sorry, man. You're in a rough spot here. Usually, this group is pretty supportive of doing what it takes to stay together and heal. Today, you're getting a pretty negative result. Frankly, I get that. A marriage can fall apart if either side isn't willing to work on it. The appearance of your situation is that you might be able to get there, but it doesn't look good unless she's willing to work on this too. How is the rest of your relationship? Has she been willing to go to therapy on her own? Together, it seems you've reached a wall. I know this sucks. You sound like you're approaching this from a pretty good situation overall. You're not beating yourself up too much, and are sounding like you're moving towards forgiveness. This is good. Keep it up.